Legion by Lenovo.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's that time, that big moment we've all been waiting for when we break away from the pools and make it to the big show, or at least the first start of it. It is quarterfinal day here at the Chisholm Invitational, as our top 8 will soon be the top 4. We've taken the top 2 teams from each of the pools before, and now they're set to square off with each other. I'll be your hostess with the mostest, one formal casting, aka Max, here today, as unfortunately Hedgie, feeling a little bit under the weather, has left me to do a little bit of solo duty for you all. It's going to be a tough match for sure, but I do hope I'm up for it. I hope I can bring the hype and the analysis that you all have come to know and love for our game today, because boy howdy, is it going to be a doozy. We have ourselves a very exciting match between the Saints and the Little Lakers going at it for this one. It's going to be, well, a showdown to see how far these teams can go. Shalom taking on, again, Little Lakers, which is from the Lakes College, going to be our matchup. But before we go too far into that, first we're going to take a look at our total brackets chart as to where these quarterfinals are lining up right now. You can see the Maroons are against Free Jungle, STC Gold against the SEC Glacers, the Echidnas are playing ICU at BBC, and the TSS Cyberstarks are taking on the Lakers Legends. Now, it's a little interesting because this is not actually a quarterfinal match that we're bringing you. It's actually a consolation game between these two teams. So while these quarterfinals might be happening, that is not the game we're going to be bringing you today. It's instead kind of a bit of a show match. It's a unique decision that we've made to go this way, but I believe the quarterfinals will be happening later on. So do not fret. You know, these games are still happening. It's just not really what we're getting today. This is more of a fun game, and we're going to have more of a for fun solo cast, I feel. That's it. It all kind of lines out in the end as we take a look at our two teams in a bit more detail, starting, of course, with Shalom. They're going to be on the blue side, and they might be a bit of an underdog, but don't let that fool you. Some of these KDAs are looking quite lethal indeed. In particular, that mid laner in Uga Mabuga. 13.6 average kills, 4 average deaths, and 10.5 average assists are quite amazing numbers. Now, I might theorycraft that perhaps you could be thinking, well, maybe that's boosted by playing against some, I don't know, AI games. And while that could be the case, this is still a ranked player. And actually, they will be on the red side today instead of the blue side. So it looks to be a little bit of a swap around. That's all well and good for the Saints, who will be in red. I think another player to look out for, if just by pure name alone, the Green Bean Man on support. That might be my favorite name I've seen so far in this tournament. It's definitely up there. Might have to do a name tier list in the future. But their opponents coming from Lakes College, it is going to be the Little Lakers. As we take a look at them, pictures aplenty right now. Those KDAs might not be as impressive. However, this squad's still going to be looking to bring the fight to their opponents as they're coming in. I kind of said that the other team might be a bit of the underdog. I actually feel, upon hindsight, this team might be the team that's going to be looking to fight back. In particular, I'm going to be watching this bot lane of Brockhow and Almighty Hando. Just because on the experience level, these two are kind of the more unknown quantity. If they can have a big game today, they can kind of throw a wrench into their opponents from Shalom. So that's going to be an exciting one to see how they do match it up. Sorry, a little sip of water right there. If you hear those awkward pauses, it is because hydration, the most important thing of casting, and when we're going to be having a solo casting game, well, I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. That said, I'm going to give the okay perhaps for these players to jump into picks and bans, because I think it's high time we get this match underway. Again, it's going to be a fun one. I feel a bit more of a relaxed game for sure. It's a bit of a consolation game. These teams just going out there to have a good time and sort of showcase perhaps what they learned throughout this Chisholm Invitational as we are underway in the pick and ban. And Hedgie, where are you at, man? I'm missing you right now. I can reach out, but you're just not there. That's okay. I'll do my best to break down this pick and ban as much as possible. As we're going to start off with an Ornn ban. Unique one for sure, Ornn. And it's going to be followed with the Nasus ban. So 2 top lane bans straight away. That is very unique. I found a lot of times in recent games that these types of bans are a bit more common. The Akshan and more of the jungles and bot laners seem to be the focus for a lot of teams of what to ban out. Although top lane has been going in an interesting direction. I feel that in recent times the top lane has becoming more and more aggressive, and we've been seeing more and more sort of carry top laners. Ornn and Nasus, not those carry top laners, so that is a bit unique. to see those two being the first two taken away. Trundle, that's a more conventional ban, I feel, as Trundle has been one of the strongest meta junglers at the current time. Caitlyn's going to be banned away. Perhaps a little nod to what we saw yesterday as well, where Caitlyn absolutely popped off. I think it was 35-0 out of the Caitlyn in a 20-minute game. Some pretty insane stuff, and well, we're not going to be getting a repeat of that. What we are going to be seeing is a first pick Garen. That's a lot of fun. Garen known for bringing that Demacian justice to the Rift, most likely going to be taken in the top lane. One of the weaknesses of Garen is always going to be the range and sort of the mobility. Garen, kind of like Set, needs to gap close. However, where Set has an advantage of having a lot of crowd control and utility when he is able to find that gap close, Garen doesn't quite have that. Garen just kind of becomes a pure damage dealer, and you really need to play around the bushes to correctly utilize the Garen, and that's why this Gnar pick probably going to be quite strong into this matchup, just pure range advantage alone. And even when they start to go face to face, if Penguin can time those Mega Gnars correctly, should be able to keep the Garen off balance. Kayn, meanwhile, will be locked in as the first jungler on this matchup, going over to that red side. Kayn, depending on which way you build it, can either be a hyper carry or a bit of a bruisery frontline, and when paired with the Gnar, we've already got a solid frontline set up realistically from both these teams. As we also get that Volibear locked in return, the Aurelion Soul hover. Always love to see it. Shout out to Tenty, hovering my favorite champion. Very unlikely we get to see this one locked in though, as Aurelion Soul has been in a rough spot in the meta. That's looking a bit more likely with the Lulu right now. Should be seeing that one go through in about 2 seconds time. Or no, the Rise actually is going to be prioritized, and interesting to see the Rise locked in blind. Rise is a very strong champion if Rise is able to find some gap closes, and to be quite honest, the Rise is a very strong answer to the Kayn. I do like that matchup right now because it's going to be very hard realistically for Kayn to get on and stick on that Rise. If caught in that runic prison, it should buy enough time for the Rise to be able to provide a bit of self-peel. The double dive might be effective. However, with just the purchase of a Banshee Spell, I feel like in this lane matchup, we could be seeing the Rise start to negate a lot of the potential dive on it. Now, that does mean throughout the early and mid game, Tenty is going to have to be a bit careful and really try to get to the late game, but right now we're seeing frontline, a solid mass DPS option. This blue team actually coming together quite nicely, whereas we're looking at a lot of dive, meanwhile, coming from that red side right now, between the Kayn, between the Kassadin, which can become a cast of wind should we go late. Starting in to be a very unique matchup. More bans coming through, just the Vayne and the Lux, nothing to see here. The Vayne has been becoming more and more meta as well. I do like that ban out because I think a Vayne into the Garen and into the Volibear could be quite strong. Whereas a lot of the bans coming from this red side are a lot more focused on the mid game at this stage. So it looks like the Saints definitely want to play for that late game right now. They've gotten rid of some of the mid game power spiking and some of the later game hyper carries while selecting a couple late game hyper carries themselves. Should be a good sign moving forward. I would like to see them continue to commit to the dive at this stage. I think that'd be a smart direction to go, and a Samira can do just that. Which, though, is what's going to be locked in, and that's even more late game. So it really feels like the Saints are aiming to go late, and in response, yeah, I like this Kalista lock in. Bring in the Blitzcrank as well. Go for some of those picks. It's going to be a game, I feel like, where the Saints are going to be playing for late game, whereas on that opposite side, the Little Lakers are going to be doing everything they can to prevent this game from getting late, be it picks, be it brawly. And even if we get it late, there still is those team fight options for the Little Lakers to find a way to fight back. The Thresh, though, will be that last lock in, and I'm iffy on this one. However, it is quite obvious that they needed that go button, I feel, on the red side, but I'm not sure Thresh was it. I actually would have liked a Nautilus a bit better in this situation, even though Thresh is a bit stronger in the meta and can provide a bit more of that peel for the Twitch. Unfortunately for this dive composition, they might be a little too reliant on Penguin to sort of be that player going in. And when you're relying on your top laner to be the engaged, that means less side lane control. And against a Garen and against a Ryze, side lane is going to be the name of the game of the Little Lakers. And that could be an avenue where this Saints team might get punished. Very interesting decision to go with the Thresh right now. And it's interesting. One of the things I love about League of Legends, actually, is you can take a pick like the support on the exact opposite end of the map and throw it back how it's going to affect everything on the top side. But realistically, it is putting so much pressure onto Penguin right now. It's going to lead to a very interesting game. I mean, both of these comps, I feel, have their strengths, have their weaknesses for sure. 2 hook supports always leads to a fun time. And I do imagine that's going to lead to a bit of a brawl down on that bot side. The thing is, if we do get down and dirty on the bot side of the map, I like the Kalista Blitzcrank duo a little bit more, specifically through that early and mid game. Twitch is great at blowing up targets late, but is also one of the easiest to take down AD carries in the game. And I'm going to try to simplify this a little bit because I know I've been using a lot of big terms. And without Hedgie to break it down, I guess that falls on me. So Hypercosm is going to be a focal point through the mid game in particular. Twitch is a champion that is a high DPS, but also a glass cannon. And by that, I mean, like a cannon, hits very, very hard, but like glass is easy to shatter. So a main focal point of this red side is to try to keep Hypercosm safe and behind other members of the team. In this case, probably going to be behind the Green Bean Man, who is on the Thresh, and behind Penguin, who is on the Gnar. And the longer that Hypercosm is able to stay behind that line and stay safe, the more damage and the more cannon shots he is going to be able to dish out. And those cannon shots, particularly after about 15, 20 minutes of the game, actually will be able to completely take Tenti, Brockal, and even Almighty Hando potentially just completely just wipe them off the face of the earth. So we're going to be keeping an eye on Hypercosm to stay safe behind. The reason why I'm saying this bot lane might get messy is because you have Almighty Hando on the Blitzcrank. And the Blitzcrank with Almighty Hando, actually, I think that's an appropriate name because Blitzcrank is a champion who is going to throw a giant hand deep behind the enemy front line, looking to grab the little rat character that is Hypercosm and pull him straight over to Brockal, who will then be able to throw a bunch of spheres into Twitch, who, while Kalista is a glass cannon, it's not necessarily instantaneous. It's more like death by 1,000 cuts. And the longer and the more spears that this Brockal can throw into Hypercosm, or whoever they happen to be throwing them at, the more damage they will dish out. Well, then the fight can get turned around. So we have Almighty Hando going to be looking for these grabs on Hypercosm in this bot lane. Meanwhile, you have the Green Bean Man who's going to be looking to protect this Twitch at all costs. And I feel like because of the nature how this game might play out, both of these supports are going to be proactive in their roles, and we're going to have a lot of fun down in that bot side. Granted, that is only the bot side of the map, and we still have a mid lane and a jungle to break down. That said, we'll break it down when we get to the Rift itself, but we will be throwing to a quick spectator delay when we come back. Our Week 7 action here at the Chisholm Invitational. Oh, we're on right now. Alrighty, look at that. Here we go, Summoner's Rift for our little bit of a consolation game being played today. It is not our quarterfinal matches, despite seeing those brackets before. Instead, we are getting the Saints on the red side, taking on the Little Lakers in blue. And, well, those Little Lakers are being a little devious right now, setting up a bit of a death bush in that tri-bush down below. No takers to be had, as it looks like the Green Bean Man might be running into a little bit of problem right here. The Thresh still not loaded in. And that's going to be a bit concerning as we're seeing a late invade come through. Hypercosm just standing in the bush as the Little Legends, I should say, walk straight in to find Hypercosm. Sort of sitting there, maybe looking at shop. I'm not too sure. Either way, first blood going to go to the blue side. And I believe it was secured actually by Tenty in the mid lane. And that's going to be an interesting one. This actually could be very strong for a couple reasons. It all depends on if Tenty is able to back and make a purchase, and we are just going to see a mana crystal. So it's not going to lead to a damage increase happening in that mid lane. So the early and mid trades still should be mostly the same. But now in the Kassadin versus Ryze matchup, just like most Kassadin matchups, there will be a bit of struggle early, as a matter of fact. And now the Ryze, with that mana crystal, with the tier, is just going to be looking to stack it up as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And this will be promising as we move forward as, the reconnect leads to a bit of a screen freeze. Don't worry, we're all catching that right now, so we should be able to continue in just a few moments. I believe this actually might be a pause that just doesn't go gray. Either way, what I was getting at was Ryze. There we go. Back on it right now. With the Ryze, I mean, this is just going to be even more mana stacking, and with that quick back, with that early mana crystal, now Tenty is going to be able to stay in lane even longer and take advantage of this early game, which will benefit themselves. We also saw the start of some horizontal jungling as well, as we saw, you know, after the Little Lakers were able to get that quick pick, they're going to go ahead and steal that initial buff away and continue to sort of jungle on the opposite side of the map, but that's going to be matched by Equinox Cat. So each jungler going to be forced to stay on a certain side. And the reason why this is going to be important moving forward is it's because it's going to force sort of those first fights to happen on the opposite sides as well. So even though Lazy Dolphin's on the bot side right now, expect the pressure to be up top in the future, because that's sort of where the rotation will naturally kind of place the Bully Bear after the first few clears. Remember what I said about the top lane as well at the start? That is naturally going to be favoring Penguin and the Gnar, as a bit of a gank's actually happening mid lane. So, well, maybe I was a little incorrect on that. Lazy Dolphin is going to be stepping forward after Uga Babuka, although Equinox Cat was in the area as well. And that fight gets turned around in favor of the Saints. And I do not like that mid lane gank. I really not a fan of that one, because I felt like with the way how things were going, we should have seen Lazy Dolphin just continue to safely farm and then look to make the play up top instead. The lane was naturally going to be pushing that way, and it would have been an easier move to make on the Gnar in that situation than on the Kassadin in mid, especially with Equinox Cat. You know, on the top side of the map could do something just like that. Meanwhile, a great turnaround for the side of the Saints. They're going to be happy with that play, absolutely. I mean, it was the logical place for the Saints to go, considering they had sort of controlled that top side, and just sort of be aware of what could happen in the mid lane. Now, Lazy Dolphin is going to stay on the bot side of the map right now. It's kind of forced to stay down there, and because of that death that happens in mid lane, it's actually Lucky Gamer who loses out as well, who now can get harassed by Penguin with no threat of a gank coming up against them. And this is why, so often than not, people put so much sort of emphasis on how important that early game jungling it is. Because the things that happen on one side of the map has sort of this cause and effect that happens everywhere else. The jungler is always that unknown. You never really know where they're going to come out. You can make educated guesses, but the second that knowledge is revealed, speaking of which, Equinox Cat will be showing up on the spot side after the death sentence connects. Almighty Hando, though, could be the one in danger. Going to get slowed by Equinox Cat as well. That's going to force the flash out of the Blitz Prank. As again, jungle pressure causing flashes to be used. League of Legends is a game of information, to go back to the point I was trying to make before, and just sort of playing around the information you have and trying to infer what you don't. And right now, we have seen the Saints just doing a better job of inferring based on the information that they have been given and presented to them by the Little Lakers. And I'm not trying to come down too harsh on this blue side as well. They are trying to be proactive, and they are doing unique things that I don't necessarily believe are bad per se. However, it's like they're doing the first 2 steps correctly, but they're not going to a logical 3rd step. And that's the kind of thing that will come through a bit more experience and perhaps, you know, a learning experience right here. I feel they had done a great job to set up for a top lane pressure. They instead opted for mid lane pressure, which was always going to be tougher. And that's a nice rocket grab onto Hypercosm. And this is what I was talking about before on the Blitzcrank. Good peel from the Green Banana, but Brockhow has enough damage to actually force the heal out of Hypercosm. They don't get the flash out of the Twitch, as the rend was maybe a little bit premature. However, they do get a lot of damage down, and that might force an early recall, which could be a little concerning for a Twitch that is already behind on CS. Going to be losing out on more pressure. That's a great flying rocket grab, and a kill will be secured by Brockhow. We wanted to keep our eyes on this Blitzcrank through that early and mid game, and we are seeing it right here. Almighty Hando doing a fantastic job. Great piece of work for sure. We'll see some pressure in the top lane. Lucky Gamer 206.75, or 200,675, I should say. Farming along, being harassed a fair bit. We sort of expect this matchup to favor the Gnar, as with that extra range, it becomes that much more difficult for the Lucky Gamer to create that space. Although you can see, Garen's can be quite tanky the moment that extra shielding does run away. As soon as the courage runs out, to be a bit more technical with the terminology, that's when the boomerangs start to hit as non-stop to Mega. Meanwhile, down below, First Dragon's going to be secured by the Little Lakers. They're going to be quite happy finding themselves a Cloud Drake. Ocean Dragon will be next as we get a bit of a pause. It's only going to be a real quick one. As looks to be quickly out of said pause, so no worry, no foul right there. Ooga Mabuga. Sitting level 6, looking to engage. Now, the Gassadin win condition usually doesn't come till level 11, so we're still a bit of a ways to see there. Double tier mid laner means not a lot of actually going to go down, as once again, kind of hit a little bit of a buffering pause. This time more in the top lane. And yep, it's going to be a quick one. Penguin stepping forward on Lucky Gamer, who plays some courage, looking to sort of chase Penguin back. They can only do so much. Also take note of the deeper wardage that we're actually starting to see out of the Saints as well on that top side of the map. They know now exactly where Lazy Dolphin is going to be, pretty much bot side, and I expect them to play around it. I mean, Equinox Cat is still going for that scuttle crap, but that's because there's backup in terms of that bot lane that can roam up if needed, and they might need to do just that because Lazy Dolphin was looking to engage, but is a level down, and now you need to be mindful of that uproll Temprath if it is needed. It absolutely is. Flash to dodge the death sentence, but it doesn't dodge the roam, as Ooga Mabuga and Hypercosm are able to roam into the river to secure that kill. Flash close to Brockhow, gets enough spears for the leg to get a return kill, but the Green Banana and Hypercosm are stepping in, and that is that explosive Twitch damage I was talking about before. Fight continuing up top, as well as Penguin goes under tower, but does not throw down the Gnar. So Lucky Gamer stays alive for now, but needs to be very careful. That boulder makes contact, but the tower will return equal damage. Flash, Gnar, stun, but is there enough follow-up damage? I don't think there is. Lucky Gamer survives the tower dive, and we're looking at a 4-3 kill lead now in favor of the Little Lakers. A back and forth and bloody game, keeping us quite even overall. 2 kills apiece for the bot side. 1 kill in favor, though, of Tenti over Umunga Bunga. And that could be the difference as we do look ahead. Just taking a look at individual gold differentials as well. We actually are quite even. So nothing to write home about yet. If these two teams were to sort of go at it right now, I would still favor, I believe, the blue side. Although Lazy Dolphin actually gets the buff stolen. That's going to warrant a Realm Warp out of Tenti, but Equinox Cat can just kind of float right on through that wall and away to safety. A cheeky steal from the Kane, who has been the more proactive jungler thus far. Now, I will be expecting to see a Rost Kane, and I'm going to go a little bit more into basics for this one. Kane, the champion played by Equinox Cat right now, is unique, because after essentially a certain amount of time within the game, the character will transform one of 2 ways. Either they will become Shadow Kane, and we'll know this because they'll be sort of highlighted in a blue aura, and they become a bit more of an assassin. So another glass cannon, similar to Hypercosm. However, it's more of a melee one, so he'll be looking to jump into the enemy, find sticky targets, and then jump out. Or more likely, they will become what is known as Rost King, in which case they'll have a red aura around them, have some demon-ish looking horns, and essentially be more of a frontline bruiser. So someone who is in that front line, able to soak up some aggression, soak up some damage, and throw some crowd control back in the enemy's way while staying alive for as long as possible. And typically the reason why we expect the Lost Cane is just because you don't need more damage on this same side. Between Uga Mabuga, who is an assassin as well, and Hyper Cosm, who's sort of a backline glass cannon, they don't need more of that damage. What they do need is more protection for those two players in specific. So that's why I do expect to see Equinox Cat go for the Rost. So I'm expecting to see that red aura eventually, and looking to be another frontline utility to help protect the backline of the Saints and perhaps find advantages for them in team fights in the future. As we see that rocket grab again from Almighty Hando. Only goes so far with it. It will be exciting to see how this jungle will play things as a bit of action in the mid lane right now. Uga Mabuga have gone a little bit too deep. Now, every time you see that Kassadin jump forward, I might add, that is the Rift Walk. I did mention how Kassadin is a bit of an assassin. That is the gap closer afforded to them. A little later and later this game goes, the more and more damage that's going to do, and the more of a threat it's going to be. Similarly, the later into this game we get, the less of a cooldown there is. So the less time in between the jumps that we see from the Kassadin will take place, and that's when the mobility comes into play, and that's when Kassadin becomes incredibly effective. Again, I know this is all very basic analysis, and for those of you who know the game, I do apologize that I am kind of sort of explaining some things like a first-time League of Legends player. However, we've had so many games where we've gone into in-deep analysis. Sometimes it's nice to take a step back and sort of let some new people know perhaps what exactly is going on. The great thing about the Chisholm Invitational is the fact that this is a tournament of all skill and all player varieties. And it's important that sometimes we don't get too bogged down in the deeper theory craft, and we do take a look at sort of the basic understanding, because in a lot of ways this could be a learning tool, not just your usual high school learning tools, the team building, the communication, the proper balancing between work and play, the importance of, you know, essentially competition, winning and losing, how to handle it gracefully and through defeat. But I do want to teach a little bit about League of Legends as well, and I know it's very late into the event to be talking basics, but sometimes I feel like it kind of goes ignored when it comes to casters and events like this, so that's kind of why we're getting at it. All right, now, don't get me wrong, though, this game is still very interesting, and I do feel we're getting closer to a near breaking point, because the later this game gets, the more and more it is going to favor the Saints in this one. Little Lakers are a team with more early and mid-game priority, so you'd expect it to be the more proactive team. However, they're not playing around that Dragon respawn time necessarily entirely correctly. Lazy Dolphin is in the area, and we could see a steal in town. Watch for the Almighty Hand of the Ripper Rocket Grab. They grab it fresh, and it's Spike stolen away! A huge hit by the Little Lakers in order to take the Dragon, and now Realm warping into the pit. The fight is going to continue. That is 3 members forcing Equinox back to flash over the wall. Hypercosm will get caught out. A late flash surviving the rend, and forced to go invisible to continue. Now we're looking for a re-engage, and Omuga Booga showing that assassination ability, just absolutely deleting Bloodcow from the map, and now Tenchi is left alone. That'll be another one picked up from this red side. The Saints win the fight, but they lose the Dragon in what became very scrappy. Now, here are the key things to note in this one. A lot of dives and a lot of flashes. Those gap closes are absolutely important. And what I mean by the flashing and the diving is essentially instantaneously jumping from one part of the map to another. Now, Flash is a summoner ability that every single player in this game has elected to take. It's a natural magic spell that you get for free. It's on a 5-minute cooldown, and it allows you to blink from one spot to another within a short range. These are important offensively and defensively. And what we saw in that fight was a lot of use of it getting over that wall, separating the Dragon Pit from the rest of the jungle. And we saw both teams trying to use it effectively to reposition themselves. In fact, that entire fight was about positioning and how important it is. Because initially, it was a case that the Little Lakers actually had the superior positioning because they were more in the fog of war, meaning they were more invisible, and they looked to get the jump on their opponents. And immediately we saw a lot of those flashes used defensively by the Saints. However, they used them defensively to put themselves in one of the bushes. And when you're in that bush, it means your opponents cannot see you. And without that jump available, when we saw the Saints essentially sort of push, or sorry, when we saw the little Lakers essentially kind of wrap around and push in to start hunting into that fog of war, because they used all those flash abilities aggressively before, they couldn't use them to escape that deathless jump. We saw the team fight get turned around, and in the end, we actually saw the Saints come out on top of the fight. However, they did lose the Dragon. And those neutral objectives are massive. The one you see up at the top of the screen, that is the Rift Herald. That's something that's going to be taken by the Saints as well. I'll explain that in a bit because Lazy Dolphin got caught out trying to find a way to stop the taking of the Herald. That Herald has been secured as we see a rocket grab somehow get that cast in there. That looked weird. Well, I mean, rocket grabs are always kind of strange, so we're not going to be too surprised with that one. 15 minutes early into this game, actually. No towers have fallen just yet. Very, very close game. Almighty Handle, rocket grab, does make contact with the return death set. The difference is the death set connected on the support, the rocket grab grabbed the carry, and that change of damage does lead to a fight going one way. Meanwhile, Kane actually goes down to the tower, actually takes the tower down. I'm sorry, with the Rift Herald, while diving, they secured the kill on the Penguin. Or Penguin secures the kill. I'm all mixed up, my apologies. Rift Herald will dive. Taking damage on the tower down below. A big engage from the Gnar as it gets two. Huge move by Penguin to give a double kill over to himself. Now 4-1. And that top tower is going to fall. This is a massive push. And the catalyst of it was the Rift Herald. I said I would talk about this before. Remember, just 2 minutes prior when we saw the Saints taking that Rift Herald. Now, when you take the Rift Herald, you gain the ability to place it for your side in any lane. And what the Rift Herald does is it just charges straight into buildings for the opponents. As the Rift Herald was charging into those towers, it enabled the rest of the Saints to sort of dive into the back line and get those picks. And ever since the start, I talked about how the Saints are going to be more of a divey team. Well, we saw it right there. They dive on through. Gnar and his ultimate ability is to pick champions up and sort of throw them into walls. Penguin was able to get 2 enemy champions with that. The follow-through damage was enough to help secure a double kill. And now, 16 minutes into this game, we're looking at a 5K gold lead. When I was commenting before, hey, 14 minutes, this game is even, not so much anymore. As another rocket grab is able to find Hypercosm. The death sentence is thrown back onto the Almighty Handle, but Brockhouse messing forward, but here comes Booga Booga. I talked about that 11 power spike. Well, here it is, and there is that damage granted. Equinox Cat will secure the kill. I do believe Omoga Bunga would have had it secured for themselves. Almighty Hando still looking for the rocket grab just out of reach from the Green Bean Man, who will happily help turn that fight around. Raw Cow falling is going to be a bit of an issue as Tenty steps forward trying to harass, actually gets a stun down, but not going to be able to secure the kill as we saw the Everfrost Rise coming into play with those stuns. It's always going to be a bit of a challenge. Now, I talked before about the importance of hydration. Cheers, everybody. Look, I've been talking a lot non-stop in this game, all right? And I could be talking a lot more. We'll see how we go. As Lucky Gamer going back in on Penguin 06, trying to get that damage down. Penguin 06, so it's going to turn this around. And look at the cleave damage coming through from Penguin. That right there was a bit of that stride breaker in work. Dealing that ability, that extra damage, but more importantly, finding that slow. Good stuff coming out of the Gnar. As this next dragon is going to be started upon by the little Lakers. I think they recognize this dragon being their main win con, but this time Equinox Cat is going to be around to stop it. Rocket grab, very premature, and now that can't be used to stop Equinox Cat. He's going to have the dragon stealing it away with the smite. Will give up his life, or will he? Because the return damage is a bit too much from the back line. Hypercosm did so much work, and now Ooga Mabuga is looking to chase down Ted. He has Equinox Cat with him, but doesn't even need help from the jungler as the mid laner falls. That is a 3 for none. That is a dragon stolen away, extending the win condition from the Lakers Legends by another 10 minutes that I don't think they can afford to have. I said the later the game gets, the more and more of an advantage the Saints will have. Well, they are starting to accelerate that game now. It was all about that 11-minute power spike. And how much of a lead could they get before then? We saw Brockhound on that bot side getting advantages, but they're not winning those fights anymore. Too much coming from this Saints side. Now, that's not to say the little Lakers are out of hope. If they can find ways to get to the back line and take Hypercosm down, perhaps they can bring it back, but it's going to be putting pressure on Almighty Hando. Essentially, the name is perfect because Almighty Hando's hands has to be grabbing Hypercosm for any chance at this stage for the Little Lakers to win these fights as well. Did that rocket grab go sideways? All right, well, that wasn't the grab that they needed. And this is actually concerning because we're seeing a bit of a flip of a map right now. The Saints are now starting to group up as 4. They're roaming around. They're looking for picks. They may have just found it on the Lucky Gamer. Meanwhile, the Little Lakers are more concerned with bot lane, and that's going to cost the top laner their life in this situation. Unfortunately for the Little Lakers, they need to be roaming Almighty Hando around wherever Hypercosm is. But because Bruckow is still looking to CS, still looking to get some bot lane advantages, they're actually negating their pressure for the rest of the map. Like you can see, it's a 2v1 down bot, but that means it's a 4v3 everywhere else, and the Saints are using those numbers advantages. They got to kill the Lucky Gamer, and they're also using it to apply more pressure right now in the mid lane, where the jungler is being forced to try to farm in a 2v1 situation, and that is never where the jungler wants to be. Good macro coming from the Saints right now. Have the Little Lakers trying to respond. Granted, if a rocket grab does make contact on a Penguin, that could be a kill going Bruckow's way, but even if it does happen, that is a 4th-level advantage currently in favor of Penguin 06. And we really need to see the Little Lakers get a bit more proactive with the reaction time. As we do see action on that top side. Doesn't really go too far. So yeah, to break it down, what I would like to see the Little Lakers do, in theory, is... Oh. You know what? Hats off right there. I want to see more of that. Strong game sense to not walk into death bushes. Very well thought out by the Lucky Gamer. Oh, that's not the rocket grab you wanted. Penguin going to use that as another engage. So flashing under Noring the Bruckow into the wall, but Equinox Cat not going to be able to follow it up. And that's going to be okay, because here comes a little bit of a return gank, perhaps. Lazy Dolphin trying to be careful right behind him. And here comes the dive. Equinox Cat gets the knock up on the Bruckow, who does eventually go down. Now Penguin looks back, taking that tower aggro. The dive ball continuing as they find a second kill. The tower with 20 is not enough to get a kill back. A very nicely executed tower dive finds to an Equinox Cat, not done. This Kane going back in, Tendy will hold him in place briefly with the Realm Prison. And oh, it's a swing and a miss from Ugamabuga, so the dive is not going to secure the kill. Remember before, though, when I was talking about the 2 different forms of Kanes, I was correct. We are seeing the Ross Kane. He has that red aura around him. That's how Equinox Cat was able to survive underneath that tower damage for so long. The natural life steal that Ross Kane gets, not to mention with the Gore Drinker as well, giving that extra 150% base regen, health regen, I mean. But also the knock-up, the dive potential, being able to be that initiator. You could see how Equinox Cat was trying to set up Ugamabuga for the fights there. Wasn't able to secure a lot of the kills, still though, good sight to see. As we continue along, Equinox Cat, might be given something, and Lazy Dolphin is going to try to flash away, but the hunt is still on. Knockup makes contact. Equinox Cat having to chase into the bush, but with Tenty and Lucky Gamer around, it doesn't look like the Saints can continue that hunt to the enemy side. Want to break real quick before the next fight, because I think one is coming. Yep, here we go. Penguin gets found by Lazy Dolphin, can only do so much to it. Ugamabuga going to jump into this fully bare space, but before getting Root Prism and bursting down Tenty. A nice little pick onto Ugamabuga. It does turn into a 1-for-1, however, as Lazy Dolphin unable to escape with Flash no longer available. And that is fine for the Saints. Again, the Saints, they're in a position right now where they're just going to try to be that proactive team. So any trade that is even or in their favor is actually a good thing at this stage, as they will be looking to pick up this second Mountain Drake for themselves. Going ahead and positioning themselves around it. Eventually do expect to see a start up. Penguin sitting in a Death Bush. I don't know if this Nara has enough damage, even with that Sterix Gauge now, to go with the Stride Breaker. We'll see if it goes their way. Almighty Hando is going to look for another one of those massive rocket grabs, although Vision spotted with that ward, and here comes Equinox Cat looking to scare them away before going back towards the Dragon, and will be secured with Smite. And now Equinox Cat over the wall forces the flash out of Tenty, who is going to try to run away, but Penguin is on the hunt, going mega, a big Narcer, massive, one 3-man stun into another 3-man stun, and it is an absolute wash as the damage comes following through. A triple kill for Ugamabuga. A massive team fight combo, a 4-for-none. And the Saints may have just blown this game open and then some. Now looking at 12k lead. Oh, Lucky Gamer tries to flash onto Ugamabuga, but can't get into the range of that Demacian Justice. Now Equinox Cat going to look to turn it back around, but there's the Justice being dropped on Equinox Cat. it will be enough to maybe stop some of that mid pressure. And I'm surprised. You go 4 for 1, but they don't turn that into really any immediate lane pressure. And that could be a small misstep, perhaps, on the side of the Saints. I would have liked to see them get a bit more from that fight. Instead, they kind of immediately scattered and kind of cleared out some jungle camps. Penguin has the right idea, though. It's going to be taking this bot tower down quite low. That is 4 members converging on the Penguin right now, who's going to have to kind of get out of dodge. But you can see you have a wave pushing a top, and no one is there. I am not really sure where Uga Mabunga has kind of gone off to. Went to collect their own Raptors. I mean, and it's a learning thing. So we're going to go back to from a learning experience in that situation. And I think that just comes from a little bit of nervousness when Equinox Cat went down. However, even in that situation, you took out 4 members of the enemy team. Their jungle is now your jungle for the next 30 seconds. You do not need to rotate all the way back to your own camps and start farming. If anything, you should be looking to play forward. You should be looking to get some deeper vision, and you should be looking to get those waves pushing into your opponents, because guess what? That enables you to continue to secure the amount of map that you gain for yourself. Because in order for your opponents to get into what could be considered a dangerous position, they now have to fight like an extra 30 seconds or an extra minute to even get to that point. So it's sort of how it's pushing at that stage to just get those legs pushing. Now a 2v3 being initiated on bot 5 and 6. They're going to be looking to jump on Penti, securing one, securing a second, one for each, the jungler and the mid laner, as Penguin wants in on the action, looking to plate the lucky gamer. Over the wall goes Uma Baguga, getting that double kill. Bruckow standing as one alone into the 1v3, falls as such, as another kill is secured. Again, 4 members down, as I believe somewhere along the line, a 4th member actually went down in all of that. That's going to be, oh no, that was 4 all up. No, that makes sense. 28-9 right now. Mid tower and mid inhibitor will be busted open, and now we should be seeing the backpedal towards the Baron, and with the Baron, perhaps the beginning of the end of the game. The Saints now doing a better job in sort of taking advantage of the team fights. They're winning. They go ahead. They take themselves, you know, a few objectives. They get themselves that inhibitor. That's going to give them map control, and they should be starting Baron. All right, well, we'll wait a little bit before doing it. That's all well and good. Water break, everybody. I don't know. Sometimes this game is hard to predict. It is what it is. Hypercosm. Gonna be chilling in the tri-bush for now. Vibing out on the Twitch. Uga Mabuga goes ahead, clears up some Raptors, and now, do we see? No, we don't see the Baron play. Interesting. Because it said Hypercosm has been sitting in this bush, I feel like, for the past couple minutes, and very expectant of someone to push into them. It's not happening. It really isn't. And now it's going to continue to sort of split push the bot lane. And that's all well and good. I would rather see the Twitch where Uga Mabuga is and Uga Mabuga where the Twitch is. Have the Twitch getting the red buff and have Uga Mabuga with that teleport available pushing the side lane. No one can really go 1v1 against the Kassadin right now. The Kassadin would do too much damage and pretty much blow up, anyone, especially with this Garen sort of prioritizing AD. Stridebreaker, Berserker Greaves, Garen is not a typical meta build. Hey, go with what works for you, though. Play to your comfort. I do kind of like it. As Hypercosm is just allowed to stand there and auto away, taking down the tower. Meanwhile, that backline Tenti forced to burn flash as Uga Mabuga was looking for that pick. Question mark ping's coming down. I'm not entirely sure why. As this Saints team, one team fight away from potentially ending this game. They are pinging this next mountain Drake, but they don't need to rotate back for it. They can keep pushing, but they are going to rotate back. All right, fair enough. As there you go. Why take Twitch with you? Just throw him back as Penguin. Really wanted to get that Gnar. I think it's still going to go in. Has Hypercosm on that back line, who holds on to the Rat-a-tat-tat, as I like to call it. Now, I know it is called the Spray and Pray, but I still miss the old ultimate name. I think it was better. Spray and Pray held on to for now. That Spray and Pray is going to be cataclysmically devastating. That's what I wanted to say, a bit of a tongue twister right there. Cataclysmically devastating towards that blue side is what we're hoping to see from that Hypercosm. Although at the moment, Ogamabuga has really been that major damage dealer. Like, let's not downplay what this castle win has been able to do. Equinox Cat looking to find a way into that back line. Going to go ahead, clear out some of this vision. As we see Almighty Hando get poked about a bit. Eventually, something's going to have to break. I mean, the go button, again, I said was going to be an issue for this red side. They're going to be kind of reliant on the death sentence right now. As we see, oh no, it's a rocket grab on to the green team, man, and that actually is going to be the initiating tool. They're just going to wait for an overextension coming from the Little Lakers side, and with 3 quick picks, that just leaves Petty and Lazy Dolphin alive to try and stop this siege. As pushing straight down the middle, this could be the beginning of the end. Ogamabuga diving onto Teddy, goes on a bit of a killing spree. You can see Lazy Dolphin in the enemy jungle, has to try and go back, dives against Ogamabuga, who is able to bounce back, switches, goes Rift Block. That's going to be an ace. That should be the game. Why are you recalling? Your enemies are ace. Nothing can stop you. Well, you do have teleport, actually, so you can teleport right back in. But there's no reason to recall, Green Bean Man. You aced your enemies. Keep pushing, please. But no, they reset with the enemies aced. Okay, the game will continue to be played a little bit longer. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah. Not a perfect game. Now, and I know it seems weird for me to be a little bit critical of the 33-19. But this is a fun learning fact. So another friendly tip from Formal: if you find yourself acing your opponents, you have till they respawn to continue to push. Like, unless you're really afraid of minions taking you down, you are safe to keep pushing. And then when they respawn, that's when you can back off. So I think a little bit premature the same on respawning right now. Had they stuck around, they maybe could have taken down one of those Nexus towers. Heck, if they were able to find another quick pick, they may have ended the game. Now, that could have been proven to be a bit too risky, as Lantern is used to collect a soul in the pit. Look, walking is hard work. I wouldn't want to walk for it either. You have a Lantern, use it. Oh boy, one man knockup, only getting Almighty Hando, but still Equinox Cat's going to go. What just happened to Lazy Dolphin? That's meant to be the tank. 25 stacks, Soul Stealer, level 16 Ogamabuga is what happened right there. This Assadin hurts. This castle win is taking the game over. And it's looking like it's going to be a victory going over to the Saints. This should be the final push. Yet we have Gnar, AFK, standing in the jungle, pinging Baron. You don't need Baron. You can end the game. Just end the game. You can do it. I believe in you. Wait, did Gnar just teleport to the bot side? What? Okay. Gnar is going to teleport to the bottom side of the map instead. Fair enough, making a complete domination victory. Just take down every building. That's all well and good. As here comes the Saints. Now looking to end. We're going to go ahead and grab this inhibitor. Not much you can see the Little Lakers do to stop it. Equinox Cat stays on it for now. That's the third inhibitor falling. And this is the final siege, perhaps. The Saints will be looking for a pick, looking for a way in. Keep your eyes on the Green Bean Man and those death sentences or the Almighty Hando if they want to be aggressive, although that's already a premature use of static field, just trying to clear out minion waves. That key ultimate no longer available for the Blitzcrank. They're pinging the mountain. They want that mountain soul. Oh my goodness. That is a little bit unnecessary, but fair enough. If they want extra shields to go with the fact that they haven't fallen yet, I suppose you can do that. Just being as thorough as possible right now. The Saints, with a near 20k gold lead, continue to just sort of play with their food almost, but I don't think it's malicious in intent. I genuinely, I just don't think right now the Saints are aware how far ahead they actually are. And that's fine. I mean, look, they're gonna pick up that Mountain Soul and then probably just get one or two more picks and look to end the game right now. I would hope that to be the case. I mean, Ogamabuga can sit in this bush and maybe even 1v5 if they play it correctly. Was that a Realm Warp for the sake of Realm Warping? I think that was. Lazy Dolphin is getting taken quite low by super minions right here. Yeah, I think Ogamabuga realizes that. Now stepping forward, pop, down goes the Bully Bear. All right, fair enough. Now Ogamabuga has a giant mountain shield as well. and is sort of the only player in the blue side base looking to end the game. As Wire is all right. The red side's going to be reconvening outside the base, even though they have super minions in it. No, don't run away. Run towards the enemies, Penguin. You don't need Baron. Push forward. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to be afraid. As we see Equinox Cat right now just kind of standing in the base. And again, we're sort of going to be playing a bit of that sieging game. Penguin 06 trying to solo Baron. I don't think the Gnar will be able to pull it off, and you can see them ending it right now. Nexus Tower falls as a reset in the enemy base with super minions crashing in. All right, fair enough. Gonna extend this one just a little bit longer, I suppose. To see. It feels like for the past 5 minutes, the little Lakers have unfortunately been kept to just sort of stand in base clearing duties, as the Saints have just been standing back and watching this one continue. Saints will be collecting that Baron before looking to continue with this game, fair enough, as Penguin continues to stand in the enemy's base. We do a little bit more pressure right now. Siege continuing. Blue Sentinel spawning. All right, looks like they're going to collect blue buff. Super minions have been relentlessly attacking right now this little Lakers base, and I just haven't seen the Saints being proactive. I mean, at the moment, Equinox Cat is farming their own jungle, and if there's anything that I want the Saints to take away from this game, honestly, it's just, knowing how and when to end a game. Because they've had this game won for a little while now. They just haven't been able to execute on it. And once again, they wait for the little Lakers to be the more proactive team. Penguin's going to follow it up. A nice two-man Gnar. Bloodhound kind of got down a little bit too deep in the bot lane. It's gone. The damage is gone. Ogamabuga diving into that deeper line. Has to go golden, stay alive, but Tenti will eventually fall. Actually, a nice pick up by Tenti, though. Pawn to Ogamabuga gets the shutdown, and that's going to be a consolation prize because finally the Saints are able to put the little Lakers out of their misery. 36-minute game, but the Saints get it done, and now, well, they're just extending the game. They get the death sentence, they look to pile it on, and eventually they should fall, and no. Okay, thank you. The Super Minions do end the game. You don't always like to see games extended like that. I do feel show your opponents, just finish them, especially in a competition stream. It's all well and good, though. They wanted to get the ace, I suppose. They didn't get it. Lucky Gamer stayed alive, but could not save that game, as the Saints do wind up winning it. The Saints, in what I want to say was a bit of a dominant fashion, at the end of the day, though, I do feel that win could have been a little bit cleaner. They could have ended that one roughly 10 minutes ago had they just known how to continue to press those advantages. They were never really aware of how far ahead they were. And, there are worlds, and I've seen it happen, where that can get flipped back around and turned back against the enemy team. So, for the little Lakers in this game, doesn't quite go their way today. They put forth a very valiant effort. To name an MVP in this game, though, as I do quite frequently like to do, I'm looking towards the mid laner. Ogamabuga on this Kassadin got some early advantages, despite Tenti, getting the early first blood. The Rise was never able to correctly utilize it, and it does work against them. It was an interesting sort of show of force right now. And if I were to name sort of an ace, or almost that best of the rest, on the side of the little Lakers, you know what? Just because of the build and the cojones being shown by blind picking a Garen, I'm looking at the Lucky Gamer, because Lucky Gamer has struggled a lot more in the lane than what wound up happening, but actually stayed relatively neutral for a good point of it. And the Garen was a pivotal front line at a few moments and did a lot of deep wave clearing, so I'm going to give that one to the Lucky Gamer as well. Overall, though, a well-played game from the Saints. They're going to be quite happy with that victory as we do look to move ahead in this event. It's been another fun day. Big things coming in the future, though. Some very, very big things. First of all, before I get into that, though, I do want to thank Lenovo Legion for helping put on this event. Again, primary sponsor. Couldn't do this without them. Torrance University, who will be hosting that grand final match in just under 2 weeks. So get ready, get keen for that on the 18th. I believe that's when things are going down. And a thank you to Summoner Society as well for providing artwork for our top 4 finishing teams, whoever they may happen to be. Then, the other thing that I want to talk about and what I'm getting very excited for next week, it's going to be a bit of a fun week. I've heard there's going to be some unique matches on display. It's going to be silly buggers, for a lack of a better word. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I do hope to see you there 4:30 as usual for the final week of the Chisholm Invitational. It all comes to a conclusion both on Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. Yes, today is Wednesday. Both on Wednesday and on Saturday, things will be looking to wrap up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, I'll catch you all out there on that rift.
Legion by Lenovo.